Welcome to Limmy Show.
There are few comedians who can capture the human experience quite like Brian Limmy can, aka Limmy. His style of comedy and humor is wild and often nonsensical. The characters he creates are idiosyncratic and incredibly memorable, and his series Limmy Show, a BBC Scotland sketch series that ran from 2010 to 2013, is a prime example of Brian's innate ability to be, for lack of a better term, a funny man. But underneath these layers, there's something deeply personal and profound about his show that gives it credence in my eyes as an almost philosophical text, considering how he analyzes life and the human condition. There are anxieties inherent to being a living social being. While operating under the framework of societal norms and expectations, we're often met with this existential discomfort, born of our own insecurities. Limmy Show understands this. Some of his best sketches, in my opinion, analyze how we try and often fail to fulfill our societal contracts because we're just too damn awkward. There's the guy you see everywhere sketch about the person you haven't truly met yet, but who keeps appearing in every facet of your life. The recurring stranger you're too afraid to introduce yourself to. Another one of my favorites in this theme is the What Do People Say sketch, where prior to entering a social interaction, Limmy is unable to recall what it is normal people say in conversation, even in passing. He's mechanical and anything other than smooth. Or the Third Mate sketch, about how you and your friend's friend are unable to make conversation due to the fact that your relationship only extends as far as that mutual middle person whom you both actually know something about.
Voyager.
Star Trek Voyager, don't watch it.
No, don't watch Star Trek. Is that the one with Dr. Spock?
No, that's the old one. And it's Mr. Spock.
What?
None.
Limmy knows interpersonal relationships, and he understands the artifice that exists in a lot of the interactions that are just part of living life. I feel his sketches are often about saying what everyone else is thinking, but never dare ask. In the world his sketches occupy, he positions himself as the philosopher, as the man willing to reject the notion of normalcy and complacency, and ask the real questions, piercing through that very artifice that feels so comfortable in day-to-day life. The result of this aforementioned boldness is that his sketches play with this intense, familiar feeling that the joke is on you. Two of my favorite sketches of this variety are the Muffet of Tea sketch and the Seamus sketch, both about moments in which the world around you, specifically the people around you, change, presenting a new version of the truth that challenges your own long-held perspectives. Whether it's the truth that the word Muffet is another word for a cup, or the truth that your name is different from what it actually is, these premises are obviously absurd, but they serve the purpose of highlighting how absurd life is. Limmy is motivated by this concept of debunking the myth of singular, unique experiences. He's able to take premises and concepts about things that feel novel, that feel specific, personal events or experiences where someone or something is out to get us or where we are incredibly unlucky, and reveal them to be anything but novel. They're shared parts of the human condition that we all often just experience separately. It's the reason why so many of his sketches feel as though they've been plucked out of the corner of your imagination and brought to life. But it's not all laughs with Limmy. He knows more than almost anyone how to capture this distinct sadness inherent in life. From the monotony of repetition and routine, to the existential sadness we're filled with when trying to understand our place in the universe. I've talked about a lot of my favorite sketches of his, but the one for me that pierces through the psychological membrane more than almost any other is the Millport sketch.
That's a bit of a strange question, but can you tell me how to get there?
Where is it? Maybe it's a photo taking.
In this sketch, Limmy approaches a lady at a transportation desk and shows her an old photograph taken years back when he was 16. He asks the lady at the desk how to get there, showing her the picture. When the lady recognizes the photo as depicting Millport, a small town on a small island off the coast of Scotland, she attempts to give Limmy directions, pointing him to the proper train and ferry he'll need to make it to this destination that he desires. But Limmy knows where Millport is. He knows how to get there. it's revealed that he's not asking how to get to Millport, the place, but how to get to this specific Millport, the one depicted in the photograph. How does he get to this time and place that has long since vanished? To this fading memory of a time where he and his pals would drink and play and have fun? To a childhood of making mistakes and being free from the duties and expectations and responsibilities of adulthood? He's asking, in effect, how do I relive my past? We know it's impossible. The lady says as much to Limmy, and I think Limmy's best sketches have always operated in this deeply sad and fortunate state that we are all too familiar with, where we try to run away from our problems or give the last morsel of our hope to a seemingly familiar face, and are left with betrayal and more self-loathing at just how unforgiving the world really is. The sketches can actually get quite dark in this regard. And I think that the same propensity Limmy has for uncovering the darker sides of our lives extends to his more recent comedy as well, like his Twitch improv stories. In these stories, he's given a short premise that he freestyles into a compelling, gripping story on the fly, and they often delve into more macabre themes of death or the supernatural or the just plain weird. They occupy this space very similar to much of his sketches, analyzing the underbelly of interpersonal relationships and the things that often go unsaid within them. In doing this, Limmy constructs what I see as his version of the Twilight Zone. The sketches, the improv, they all work in convincing the audience that if you look closely enough at the strange world around you, you'll see a second layer beneath the artifice, one far more haunting and terrifying than the monotony and triviality of the first. He positions us as the audience in the same way we might position ourselves, as protagonists with a more than keen eye, as a single soul alone in the world who can see through the BS. It's just too unfortunate that seeing through the BS doesn't mean much, especially when so often we have no power to control it. Maybe it's a little dumb to analyze a sketch variety show with this sort of gravity, but I would have to beg to differ. What I experience when I watch a Limmy sketch or listen to his improv is a feeling that is somehow both deeply personal and deeply communal. They speak on our vulnerability as human beings, but also the shared experiences that make us deeply human. I think that good comedy, smart comedy, causes us to question the world and our place in it. They cause us to look within ourselves for some semblance of an answer, even if that search turns up empty. Limmy shows us that we aren't alone, that the unforgiving world has it out for us all. It's in that way that his comedy serves as both a moment of clarity and a moment of peace, from a world that could so often tear us to pieces. Mind Theater is produced and written by me, Ayo Akingbade, in collaboration with Muckraker Media. To subscribe, look for Mind Theater on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. For updates on the show and upcoming episodes, follow Mind Theater Pod on Twitter. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time.
Lloyd's Pharmacy! Lloyd's Pharmacy! Some trendy cocktail bar, some trendy clay shop called Lloyd's Pharmacy! Lloyd's Pharmacy, one word!